Hey everyone, welcome to EverQuest 2's Scars of Destruction live stream. My name is Stephen Highland and I am the brand manager for EQ2. And we're currently here in beautiful San Diego at Darkpod Games. And we have a lot of exciting things to show you guys today. But first I wanted to make sure to introduce everybody who is going to be guiding you through the live stream. So we've got Kyle Valee, creative director, Nathan McCall, senior game designer, Tim Hadelar, art director, Chris Garlick, senior game designer, and Carlos Mora, senior game designer. Don't forget also that we've got some exciting news after the fact to show you guys some cool stuff at the very end of the live stream. So stick around to the end. And also don't forget to ask your questions in the YouTube comment section. Please be respectful as always. But we will try and get to those questions if we're able to. And now I'm actually going to hand it over to Kyle and Nathan to kick it off. And with a brief overview of kind of what to expect for this year's expansion.
Hey.
Yeah. Welcome to Scars of Destruction.
This has been something that we've been working on. Of course, you know, it takes us about a year to do every single one of these expansions. And this one started just like the other ones where we bounce around ideas. And so for our 20th anniversary, we're going to go back to hitting on some of the great significant points of our game's history. And we're hitting other areas that you haven't seen, though, before. So we're hitting Otis, we're hitting Velius, and lore
Western Wastes.
Lore from all over the place, using all sorts of characters. But you're probably a lot more interested in the give me the stats, give me the numbers.
No. But yeah, we the last two expansions we tried to do stuff that was actually significant to EQ2, nostalgic to EQ2. So the Desert of Roe, we wanted to go back to expansion 1, and then we went back. The last expansion we went back to the sky, to Kingdom of Sky, but this one we just wanted to do something that was all-encompassing to the EverQuest brand, and we felt like this touches on the most nodes is, Velius, and we had kind of a big mystery in our game with what happened to Western Wastes, so we're super excited to be going to Western Wastes.
Yeah, and throwing a couple curveballs your way. So you're talking about all sorts of characters that we've seen before, and ones that you've only heard of before. So, and bringing them into the fold, and how is their involvement in the story going on?
Yep.
I don't know how much more deep I want to go.
They gotta play.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Do we want to show off some stuff?
I think we should start showing off the art, which is the big thing,
That's
right?
beautiful.
All right. So I'll do my spiel now. So as Nathan kind of touched on, when we come back and revisit kind of old areas and are adding something new with it, particularly like Roe, which was the southern part or we did the southern part of Roe. Here we're kind of doing like a lot of the western is the Western Waste part, and so we had Great Divide and we had Eastern Wastes available to us to kind of look at again and go, how can we add something that players have never seen but still feels familiar enough that it would belong on the same continent. And so we started talking and worked with Chris Garlick extensively, kind of hashing out how we would add to Velius properly and make sure that it felt like we were, it was an unexplored part of Velius, so it wasn't completely foreign or unnatural. So just to get it, give you guys a little bit of inside track on how we got here. Chris came up with the design and kind of the layout of the zone, and we would go back and forth. And one thing, particularly after our last expansion, is we injected with a lot of color and a lot of vibrancy, but here we're going to what was predominantly like ice and snow, which is generally pretty mute. And we didn't like that, so Chris and I were talking about how can we add something more interesting for everyone to look at and not kind of get snowblind while playing. So of course we have a tundra, which does touch a little bit on like the tundra that was in Great Divide to help kind of tie the two together. And then we just took it in kind of our own direction from there. And one of the things we really wanted to play on this time was kind of a more like vertical aspect, particularly with flying, which was introduced in Velius. We really wanted to give a lot of area that players could kind of explore once they earn flying in Western Wastes and the other zones. So you can see kind of the tundra, and don't mind my fancy flying that you guys wish you had, but you don't get. Yep. But you can start to see, what we ended up doing on this side of the tundra. So there's a lot of layered elements. There's a lot of points you can kind of possibly work your way to. And then something that was important to Chris and I was we wanted this sense that once you work your way up initially from where you enter the zone down below over here, is that given that the zone is completely open, really, when you get up here, the zone is, you can see it all. So we still wanted to make sure that you get that sense of exploration. So we have like the high ridge over here, and then you don't know initially what's going on there. You may see kind of on the map, but it begs you to kind of go there. So we started working on that, and then we changed directions a lot on certain things, particularly how you get into certain areas. So we have one of the scars here, which is kind of like a bone graveyard, a bit more menacing, just to kind of give some contrast to that nice, happy tundra that was over there. And then, real quick...
Well, the whole idea is to lead up to Dragon Necropolis.
Exactly. So you kind of come down, and then you kind of hit one of your first reveals, which is like this big dungeon entrance to the Dragon Necropolis, which we'll get to later. And then kind of once you work your way out of here, you end up effectively being up over here. And this was a bit of a fun story. Again, trying to play with more vertical themes. Originally, this was supposed to be like an icicle.
A forest of icicles.
A forest of icicles. And
jagged edges.
Yeah. And
death at every
like
turn.
frozen waves.
Yeah. And I was... I didn't want to do it.
You had concerns. You had valid concerns.
Yeah. And so we kind of pitched ideas to one another, and I'm like, let me just try something, because again, we wanted, we didn't want true caves. We wanted a sense of something's hidden that you have to kind of find while playing. So we ultimately kind of settled on a grotto aspect instead, which I think we turned out really cool.
You're being modest, though. We weren't pitching ideas. This was all your idea.
Well, because
and
I didn't want to
yes,
do icicles.
This is great. This is awesome. Just go with it.
It was one of those moments where it was like, no, we're going to do this.
But because we also haven't done stuff like this, there's this huge divide, again, carrying kind of the theme, and we needed stuff to fill it, but I wanted you to kind of be, again, lower than the rest of the play space, so you still have something left to explore over there. And that was really important to us, is, there's still more to find. And then eventually you do make your way over here, and this is one of my favorite areas, because, again, it's kind of a relief from the snow, which we tried pretty hard to kind of minimize.
And still hidden from everywhere else in the zone.
Yeah, which was, and twice. So first getting over here, and, the environment kind of changes, the plants change. It's a much more kind of somber dragon graveyard. I will defer to you for the lore for it, because I couldn't tell you. I was just like, oh, cool, we'll do some really awesome vines and bones, but if you want to speak to, like, what happened here.
This area got transformed because of the war with the Awakened. And when the Temple of Ishan was absconded with, there's all sorts of magical defenses and side effects of that battle that warmed this area, and particularly since there is an arcane reason as to why this is starting to heal back up, because we were told that this was utterly decimated, and it had been. As you find out through the quest line, it's revealed that a lot of this is new growth and new healing of the land itself. And so that is what, but yet this being not in snow and not in ice is very different from the healing that is happening in the rest of Western Wastes.
And which was also nice for us because if you look at Great Divide and Easter's Waste, it's not very colorful. It's kind of dry and cold, and so this helps give us more contrast to that. I mean, and being north of Cobalt Scar, where there is some of that life in the higher portions of it, was nice to kind of bring back into here. And along that, when we were also coming up with kind of what we wanted, there was a series of caves that were way up there, and much like the grotto, I didn't want to do caves. Caves tend to be, kind of two-dimensional and linear, and so what we decided to try and do, again, was play on the vertical elements we wanted. And again, from the lower area, you can't get there, but it's calling out to you. You see it, and you want to get there, which is important for us. So again, kind of
drawing you in.
Exactly, telling the story visually. So, you get up top, and again, it may kind of feel like a cave, but it's much more random and a lot of height play and areas to explore and some funky ways to get up to areas you shouldn't normally get to. But it's not a cave, it doesn't really feel claustrophobic. We kind of have this open-ended kind of chasm feel to it, which we think turned out to...
Unlike the Chitauri cave.
Yeah, the Chitauri cave is much
cave.
tighter. Here, I'll cheat. Over
That's a
here.
bunch of rats.
Can I cheat? Oh my gosh. Don't crash.
They like it dark and
Oh,
Nope.
it's probably the
Nope,
GM
gonna
flag.
run over there. Yeah.
And it's the same reason over here was supposed to be caves, and actually the entrance to the Necropolis was originally in a different area, but my stubbornness, I guess, paid off, and we ended up kind of, again, turning a cave into a bit more of kind of like a mini dungeon.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
it became a real dungeon.
Yeah. And so you get to kind of come in and then find your way up and throughout all the cool areas. And the Chitauri, they're making another appearance, much crazier than before. We spent a lot of time kind of giving them a new animation suite to kind of really put them in the place that they're now in. So there you have the Chitauri kind of scouts overlooking the area, staring down at you, which just it made it feel just way better.
And for their story, you're coming into the Dragon Necropolis, and so we thought that it was such a great way to introduce you was to have these creatures that they themselves were raiding the Necropolis.
Right.
And so were you,
Them
right?
bones, them bones.
But they made for a good introduction into it.
I think that's kind of Western Waste in a nutshell. We don't want to show every last nook and cranny. I definitely want you guys to still get a chance to explore. There's plenty more in there. So I'd say from here, go to Soden.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
There's
Now,
hidden stuff.
kind of showing
too.
you backwards, because when you first start, you're going to go immediately into this zone. This is Soden Archipelago, and it is the remnants of Otis on Norath. So we've been to Otis now, of course, in Altera. You know what has happened to it, but that wasn't everything. That wasn't all of the map. And as now you can see, yes, there is still some of Otis that is on Norath. And this was the barren coast, and no longer so barren, no longer such just a coast. Now we've got the Soden Archipelago, and you can see some of the remnants of the destruction from so much of Otis being taken away and put into Altera.
Yeah, positionally you can see that it's right where Otis kind of lifted off, and it broke away right there. So that backside of northern Otis, Stoneburn Highlands, is basically the divide between the two. And touching off what Nathan said, we brought some of those same kind of landforms that we defined way back in Otis, which is still one of my favorite zones. I think it still looks incredible and had some really big high fantasy moments with the roots kind of trying to grab the islands that had kind of fractured off and not doing a great job of it, and then Peniel and even Cara Isle, like it's very memorable for me. So to kind of get a chance to put some of that back in here was a lot of fun. And we also got a chance to try to take on a swamp, which was very interesting. trying to make it feel dense and something, again, you can get lost in. So, once these guys had come up with the design, we got cracking to trying to figure out what is a swamp, in here, and where do we position it against the rest of the zone so it feels like it's something you kind of go down into, it's sunken, it's kind of hidden from the rest of the zone, which I'll get to. And then it's still something that when you're in the middle of it, you literally can get lost, and I still get lost.
Oh, yeah, spun around.
Yeah, I cheat. I just fly above the trees. I have no patience. But
trying to find the stone area, I got lost several times.
Yep. And then we have the Kappa.
Yeah, and these were a little bit of my own personal love. As I have said many, many times, this is no secret. I worked on EQOA. And in EQOA, the Kappa were something that were just in EQOA. When you went to Otis and EQ, they weren't there. So what happened to them? Where have they been? How were they in something earlier? And now here they are now. And so, I really wanted to have them because I thought that they were different for EQOA's.
It was also completely embraced as a team. Everybody thought it was an awesome idea. We were super excited about it.
So it's fun to see them here in this swamp, and they do turn out to be a integral part of the story.
And they have really cool animations too.
Oh my
that Tom had put some extra time into those. They look great.
Yeah, Austin also.
It was Austin
Yeah,
as well.
did a lot of work. Not to take anything from Tom.
No.
He does a
Oh,
lot.
Both of them
I'm
did
fine
great.
taking it away. No.
Okay.
Tom, I know you're watching. And then we have, just again a confusing swamp,
There
and
it is.
you're kind of you're ground locked for a while before you can fly and kind of skip everything. So we still want to give you guys some things to kind of explore, and those kind of beats, those point of interest that these guys have certainly pointed you towards in quests and whatnot. But that gets us to kind of the rest of it. And I'll cheat again. Yep. And to speak to that, the swamp again is in a lower area, and it's done for several reasons. Performance is certainly one of them, and to make it feel like as you descend, you're getting into something deeper, and then you kind of climb your way out of it. It becomes a lot more clear. It's easier on the eyes, more friendly, and so you kind of feel like you're making progress, and it's kind of a
Before you get smacked in the face with something else.
yes, and then it transitions again, and even during the back and forth, the design of this, where it was positioned, there was this kind of perpetually rainy area, and how we wanted to make sure that it kind of stood on its own, and the land around it said oh yeah, this could be a space where something is always occurring here that doesn't have to occur in other areas of Soden, and then the baboons, I can't remember their actual
Mandoko.
name. Yeah, there you go.
Mandoko.
Kind of kicking it here, and again, those same kind of Otis landforms. If you do go back to Otis, you'll see shapes similarly to these. These are obviously much more current, but these same kind of crazy rock forms that were created back then, which really defined Otis, we wanted to reintegrate and then update for Soden.
Do you mind showing one of the Mandoko up
Oh,
close
yeah.
here?
Yeah. Let's get him near there. Hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just stabbed
Shout out to
himself.
Nabren for that.
Yeah, is that guy?
He did these.
Yeah, they
So
turned out
good.
so good.
Yeah.
And then again, you kind of go to the next areas, kind of the anthills, and we affectionately call them kind of like killing fields, where you're sent to do a lot of dirty work, and then on your way to the next big point of interest, which this was I really love this area. It's kind of like a rock grotto, a rock. Oh gosh, I know there's a term for it. It's like a skate park, which which we called a lot of areas in Otis as well. But you start to traverse through here, you get your first kind of look at the new Blackhook orcs and some of their architecture. And if you spend time in here, you really kind of see the life that these guys put into the interactions between the orcs and the goblins. It's really, really awesome, and it makes this area feel like it has a story without you even having to be on a quest or anything else.
Yeah, that's our populator, Peter Chang, and he is really meticulous about trying to make areas feel like they're alive. He puts a lot of work into making it feel like, it's just not NPCs standing there,
Right.
in front of a campfire. They're doing things. They're walking around. They're conversing. He really strives to make the everything that he populates feel alive.
If anybody's noticed a difference in the second half of Lucklin, where all of a sudden you've got this new Kara, and they are interacting with each other in different ways, and you've got a lot more ecology creatures. Yeah, that's when Peter started.
And again, we wanted to add a lot of vertical elements. We have the space on the ground, but we wanted to get you up off of it, and we have all these awesome, huge rock formations. So to kind of trellis all the goblin architecture and the Blackhook orcs walking around it as if they have kind of taken it over.
They own the place.
They own the place. It
The
is made
goblins
clear.
are out here as a support to them, but they are not allowed into the actual city. Like they
Yeah.
are begrudgingly or to do like
They're the
manual labor.
serfs. They're the
They-
serfs.
Absolutely, that's exactly it. And so they are treated that way. They can make their little houses and huts out here all the day that they.
Well, they got
want.
the Barlow armor, which is adorable, which clearly doesn't fit,
Does not.
which is great.
That was the whole idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. They make the best out of what they got.
And then again, you kind of make your way up towards the first big orc fortress, which gets you up to here, which is all kind of a lead
Blackhook
up
Bastion.
to the dungeon entrance, which is there. And there are some other areas. I want to keep this moving and again save some stuff for you guys to explore. There's a whole Kara area over there with not like a very unhappy kind of.
Yes, it's a very unhappy story.
Yeah.
Cursed. Cursed.
And then just again lots of stuff to kind of find. There's a whole section back there to explore, but
Yes.
we
There
wanted to
might be
leave
a
lot.
lighthouse.
Might be, might be.
And as you can see, like there's so much lore that we can pull from when you're talking about areas of Otis, as well as time frame. So what happened that we know of, in between EQ and when Otis went to Altera. Okay, what is that history? And then we can pull threads from there. And what history then can we say happened here? What can we explore that happened here in this area that did not go to Altera? And then what happened to this population after the rest of Otis disappeared? And that's what you're getting to see is this, like the orcs having come here. Why did they come here? As well as the Kara that were left on that island. What happened to them? And what happened to the Erudites?
Kind of stitching up some of the loose ends.
Yeah, and I love doing that.
One of the things I also appreciated too is we kind of tacked on the Velius, which was developed in multiple parts. We did Great Divide, we did Eastern Waste, then we came back.
Cobalt.
Then we Cobalt and Witherland showed up later, Sky Shrine, and then to add more area there, and there's some undiscovered, maybe, who knows, area still left there, and then to jump to a completely different area like Soden, which wasn't attached to Velius, gave us an opportunity to not have to feather in the zones to one another. We were starting from scratch. We got to define a whole new ecology and biomes and give you guys kind of more to look at that wasn't just steeped in more snow, more ice.
Yeah. Well, the story connects, but yet Art got to have two very different sets
Yeah.
of aesthetic to work with. And then you've got your two dungeons. So you've got two overlands and then two completely different dungeon sets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very distinctly different too.
And
Yeah.
Blackhook Spiral is basically an overland zone.
Yeah.
Oh, it's massive.
This is puts it on par with Kael'dr Call, in terms of just footprint.
And the
Without the-
verticality is there too.
Yes.
Mhm.
And again, this has another interesting story. When Chris and I started going back and forth on the design and kind of, what we could accomplish and get his ideas out. And it started off much, much larger, and we had to dial it back in because
It's usually how it works.
yeah.
Almost
Okay.
every time.
But we have to be able to finish it. So
It's like
I'm not worried about that.
It's like
I
I
am.
My ideas-
Constantly
I just
worried
got to
about
get my ideas out there.
It's like I always say, shoot for the stars and hit the moon.
yeah. So when we kind of settled on this, it's basically a dungeon built in a way we would approach an overland questing zone, and as such, it's massive, and it has, again, multiple biomes and different things to kind of progress through. So it still kind of hits all those marks, and, you know, who knows where it'll be in the future. But we wanted it to feel not like a traditional linear dungeon. We wanted a lot of kind of at least perception of choice and visually, you know, different areas. So when we were going back and forth, you know, again, we're starting here, we're kind of going through the slot canyons and kind of getting an opportunity to branch off and, you know, see some of the areas that are way, way back there. You can't get there yet.
Enticing you, though. So
Exactly.
teasing you with it, yeah.
And, you know, you have this big wall in front of you. Who knows what's in the middle of it? Well, probably a lot of you know by now, but, you know.
This is all Nick Viator as
Oh,
well.
yes.
And
Yes,
same
he
with
did an
Soden.
amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ben
Palomo, did
with the props, all the
fantastic
orc-
job on the
all
props.
orc structures.
And again, as we're, you know, developing this stuff, ideas just kind of happen, and Nick came up with some great ideas on the fly, and like these kind of mine facades that could or could not lead to something else in the
Mhm.
back, but, you know, gives Chris some great stuff to work against, you know, guys kind of spilling out, and then we tend to put some maybe in inaccessible areas just to kind of
Well,
tease you
going
guys.
back to that, like I didn't expect all this mine, you know, all these different mines that he put into the zone, and it gave me an opportunity to put in kobolds for some of the population. I wasn't even in the plan to put kobolds in here, but
That's kinda how it works.
Yeah,
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 it
yeah.
works.
So
And the lore, it's there.
it's there, yeah,
Yeah, they should be there, yeah.
And again, to give you guys a bit of like inside info, you know, this kind of area, this reprieve from all the Otis desert and drier kind of feel, kind of hit that need to just get some relief from all that dryness and monochromatic kind of desert feel. But again, you know, the I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Carborite. There's a cabarite.
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 As an
Makes a-
alcabor.
Yeah,
The,
there you go.
the purple crystals.
The purple. That's
call
that's
it.
what we say. You know, again, made an appearance, which those familiar with Otis, they are there too. And then, you know, we put it into the textures and other areas. You obviously see it. You know, the colors in the creatures. It's kind of laced in the mountains. But Nick kind of probably, I mean, I think this swelled much bigger than anticipated, certainly by me. This kind of orc fortress, and then all the height play in it, and the elevators, and this kind of sense of like industry almost.
Yeah, that's all Nick's
And
fault. That wasn't me.
Hey, he was willing to do it, and it turned out great. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
this, you know, coming around the corner and kind of seeing this laid out was one of my favorite scenes, and then slowly working your way to it, and then getting a chance to explore it, and then, you know, deal with things in here. And I don't think there's any population here.
No,
so-
that's the second dungeon now.
Yeah,
You're in.
I'm just gonna cheat a bit, but again,
I love the industrial feel, though, how it
So
feels
different.
like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and then all the zip lines and everything else. But then there are also these islands, and these islands are, again, you know, trying to bring back some of Otis to tie it together visually, and then give you guys stories to play with. Ignore the stuff that's floating. It's not supposed to be floating.
Because you're cheating.
Yes. So there's islands up here that again actually reference some stuff from Otis, and then we just kind of made
But
it
also
look more current.
the magical effect of the Alteran scar that is left on the landscape.
Yep. Oh yeah,
And-
that's right. I forgot to mention it's back
And
there too.
that's what it is that's still here active, and you can feel that pull that's happening.
And it again, it gets you off the beaten path. You know, you kind of come up these islands, but we also structured it in sort a way that again is a break from the kind of more desert tones, and we brought back in colors from Otis to further tie it back in, because particularly Otis South, which I love. Like it you know, just colorful. The trees all, if you notice, they all kind of lean a certain way, as if something really happened there. It was all intentional. And then you make your way around. I don't want to spoil too much more.
I'll do that. I'll spoil it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He can, but I don't want to. But yeah, this area back here is just supposed to be a pocket. Again, another reason to bring in some more of the Otis. So you kind of see the tree shapes are very much like Otis, but these would have been like what them before Otis did its thing to them, we'll say. So the shapes are there, but
Yeah, but they're not blown over by the wind or
Exactly.
stretched in a direction.
Yep.
Yeah.
and then there's more stuff over there. but I'm not going to spoil it.
There's more
But yeah,
stuff.
Blackhook is amazing. Nick Vieta did a great job. Shout out
Yeah,
Nick.
he did.
And yeah, and the prop set is huge.
Such a great job that we have future plans for it.
Yeah,
You should, right?
Yes.
we absolutely
Yeah.
should. And so going on from here, we'll go to Dragon Necropolis.
That'd be great.
Yep.
And this is someplace that I think in EQ you really get this sense of like reverence
Mhm.
for like how the dragons treated each other, and so we really wanted to bring that through.
Which wasn't great. They did not treat each other great.
No. Well, and then with the awakening or the awakened
Mhm.
and what had happened here, of course, that wasn't helpful either. So
So this, again, touching back on kind of what we did in Western Wastes, we didn't want to do just like caves that we've done before. And the Chitauri and the kind of the giants, are they actually ice-clad giants, or they have their own
Kromzek.
factor?
Kromzek.
thank you.
We kind of defined there we wanted to do here. So so the Chitauri Warrens, is it Warrens or Barrens?
Yeah, Warren's.
Warrens.
I just call them Chitauri Caves. We wanted to bring that same feel in.
Warrens inside, Barons outside.
There you go. I'll try to remember that. So again, the verticality comes back in, and we had already created an object set to kind of allow us to do that. So we, along with, again, all the additional animations and stuff that we had added to the Chitauri, wanted to give them all these posts to look out, like you're always kind of being watched.
Show the Lucanic Knight getting eaten. That's a good one.
Where?
Right there. Look at those animations. I like how he just looks around, make sure no one's.
My favorite part's coming up.
There you go. Shout out to Austin for that.
Yeah. And so there's every room you kind of end up getting into is a little bit of a different adventure. You kind of get to see where you want to go, and then you get to play. So instead of entering a cave room after cave room, each one is its own little adventure. And it really, I think, helps upsell the story these guys are trying to tell, with how these guys kind of burrowed their way into the Dragon Necropolis. I'm not sure what magical force was necessary pointing them in the right direction, but
Hunger.
they got there.
They were after the bones.
They're
They
after
wanted
the
the bones.
And then, we come up with areas, again, just to kind of break all that
This was nice.
redness, and which can get very tiring, and so we wanted to just kind of soften it up, make a little bit something pretty in all this chaos going on. So again, there's another idea, just kind of pitched to Chris, and I said, I'm going to do this, and he said, you got it.
What's prettier than slugs?
That's another
Glowing
good one there.
slugs.
Slugs.
And then you ultimately make your way into the Dragon Necropolis. We have a couple kind of like where the dragons would have flown in, because that was part of the stories, like this was a roost, more or less, of sorts. And
It was only accessible by dragon.
Yeah.
Isn't that where they drop the dead bodies?
Maybe.
They fly over,
Right
just drop
there.
dead
There you go.
dragons. That's
and
my
then
own lore. Apparently.
That you just made up.
I just made that up.
And then you,
Sure, it's
you
true.
make your way through the burrows, and you kind of pop out into the central chamber. And again, when we were kind of coming up with the look of this, we did have a necropolis before, and we were kind of like, well, what can we do that's different? But we don't want it to look like too ritualistic or negative, I guess.
Mhm.
We wanted it to be like oddly inviting, and not like blood, death, like
Right,
yeah.
Which
right.
are
It's
all
not-
good things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Show a little bit more reverence.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like, there's some thought in it, but it's not, a place of evil, we'll say.
There's those undead drakes flying around that
Oh,
Tom
yeah.
put in for.
So
yeah.
that goes to like one of the big points that we wanted to do is, instead of kind of segmenting the dungeon into multiple kind of distinct rooms, you kind of go. We wanted to make this seem like this was a place that obviously dragons would fly in and around because of the lore in particular. So Tom spent some time along with Rick Randolph, who
Yep.
owned this zone and brought it to fruition. They worked together to kind of clear out some space and make sure that all the drakes and everything else that are flying up there give you that sense that this is completely open. The dragons would roam freely in here. It's all this big kind of Swiss cheese cavern network. It stays open, and you can kind of see as far as you can actually see down each wing.
Corridor,
Yeah, and then even other areas between where the drakes will fly.
Oh, Swiss cheese because of the Chitauri. I got it now.
What?
That's a quest right there.
There probably is one. And then
I don't know what I'm saying.
because these guys, told us it had a lot of history and it contained a lot of history, we came up with like tablets and more visual tablets, not necessarily stuff you have to read, that are kind of just inset in the walls, so that it kind of contains that history of these dragons. And this area, and I'm bummed you guys can't hear the sound, but it's really cool when you get there. And
Oh, yeah.
as stated, the
You hear the
hunger. When you make your way here, I think you'll appreciate what's going on, particularly audio-wise. It's outstanding. Props to Jay for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, more visual storytelling, so that it's not just you come in, you kill some stuff. We want you to kind of take a moment and enjoy the area that we created. And I won't show the wings. I do want you guys to explore all those. But
Again, I'll spoil some of that.
yeah, but it's massive, and we really liked how it kind of started off kind of tight and claustrophobic, and then just really opened up to give you a different feel.
And there's parts of the zone too that haven't been seen at all.
That's
yet.
true.
Mhm.
So
Maybe
there
I'll
is some definite.
I'll spoil
hidden
it. It's
stuff
somewhere
here.
over there. It's somewhere over there. Oh. Yeah, there's your little cheat. Maybe it's over there. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's the. Oh, one more. Let's see if it actually will let me get there within a reasonable amount of time.
If you like the look of this zone,
Mhm.
It may take a second. So I guess we can kind of speak to it while it's probably spinning up my house. So with the Collector's Edition, you get a Prestige home, and usually when we approach Prestige homes for each expansion, we want to take a bit of something we've created for the expansion to keep the themes consistent, but we're always trying to be mindful of what you as players want to work with for your homes. They don't always agree with each other. Case in point would probably about 2 years ago, there was a lot of slanted walls, and feedback was,
Curve.
yes, we need, not useful at an angle, which we definitely know because of how the house
Makes it hard to
system works.
decorate.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we went back in and spent time in making a lot of stuff flat, but we want to be conscious of trying to keep the theme, but also make sure that you guys are really enjoying your home. So with this one, we took a particular area once it finally decides to load, and I remember talking to Nathan, and it was some late night, and we're burning the midnight oil, and I had the area, and the size felt right, but it just, because it's a dragon crypt. Oh, come on, load. Because it's a dragon crypt, it wasn't very inviting.
He tried to tell me that we were making a prestige home out of steps.
Yes, I
He
did.
tried to
Thundering steps?
convince me that we were making.
You were
a-
not having it that
and-
night either.
and I knew 100% that you were full of it.
Yes, I generally am. So here we are in the home, and just to show you one of the items available in the collector's SKU is the a miniaturized version of that stone you saw in Soden, complete with little fireflies and a light source for you to place, and it obviously allows you quick access to Soden Archipelago. So this was how the house kind of started. We flattened out a lot of floors. Even some of the rock rolls in areas are flat. Some of the shelf areas flat, and in the back it's flat. So trying to be conscious of that, but at the same time, you don't want your caverns to be flat. It's going to look like not good. So I remember texting Nathan saying, "Hey, I've got this idea, and hear me out." And I said, I want to get you outside of the crypt. I want to give players more freedom to place things and create things, and the only way I can kind of see this working is if I kind of did this and it fits in the theme that like dragons could fly through this opening. And he was like, yeah, sure, do it.
And so now you can too.
Yeah, and now you can do it. So I'll show you since I believe we allowed flying in here, we should have. You can actually just kind of fly right out of your base, and then you get kind of a free-for-all, flat
cool.
I didn't even know about
I didn't know about
What?
that.
Cool.
Island to work with. And
That's
just
pretty
to
cool.
kind of take it back down, it's just kind of this opening that takes you back. But one of my favorite things is it does seem pretty cool that you can kind of stare back down into your home, and it's way below the water. It's all completely usable space. So you can, you have 2 areas to work with depending on how you want to set up your home, and then just some convenient little access to the above and below from each. And I thought that turned out really
Very
well.
cool.
Yeah. So rather than just kind of confine you there, give you some nice happy blue sky.
You get to break out without needing to do
Yes.
the technical breaking out.
Yes.
Yes.
For once, I supported the breakouts.
That's not
Um,
true. You've done that multiple
That
times.
I have. Yeah, the collision does go all the way to the beyond, so you can break out to your heart's content. And with that, I think that's it for the Zones showcase, at least on my end. I hope you guys enjoy everything. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, and it's always a collaborative effort. And we always get nervous. Like 2 months ago, some things we're like, we don't know what we're doing. Some of you guys give us feedback, and we're like, just wait. To call it out in particular, the dock area of Soden, which was from Steps, and we knew it, but it was a placeholder. So how we work is we need to, have these guys working and creating content, get us ready for beta. And so we kind of put in just the footprint.
The
and
play
then
spaces.
The
Yeah.
play space, so you guys know what to expect. And then we kind of, and there is no magic to it. It's kind of like when we get to it, we'll get to it. And, against everything else we're working on. And then it just kind of changes. And then these guys have to nudge some population around. And I think it turned out great.
I noticed
given
in
its own
particular
unique
on beta,
feel.
their players were really excited when they saw the changes to Port Woe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
Very.
there was like new trees, new structures,
Yeah.
new objects, and they're
It
always
felt like it
they're-
was a living place.
right,
Mhm.
right.
With the
Yeah,
with the
it was
docks
evolving.
and the walking areas going through the roots of the trees
Oh,
and
so
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, it
Right.
was,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
turned out really well. And that what made it. But, if you were early in
Mhm.
on beta and you arrived there and you're like, what? And we knew. It was like, we'll get there. But anyway, thank you to everyone who was in beta for all the feedback and
Absolutely.
the millions of stuck bugs. You guys are my heroes. And with that, I will transition out of here.
Alrighty. So I guess the next part is we're going to show off some of the features and some of the stuff that comes in the collector's edition. The first thing we have is the Petamorph Wand keyring. This is the first keyring we've done, and we have plans for more to make more space in your bags. And
I don't know.
so the way this works is, if you're like me, and so like, say I'm a necro, and I got pets, and I have all these Petamorph wands sitting in my inventory because I like turning my pets into cool stuff. So now you have a place for them, and what you have to do is you take your Petamorph wand and you make sure it's attuned, and then you can drag it and drop it over here, and then so I got a pet already out. It's not a very interesting pet, but and you can cast your Petamorph wands from here and turn your pets into all the things you desire. We are actually looking into being able to drag and drop this stuff down into your hotbar. It's not 100% yet, but that was one of the feedback that we got the most of, was being able to grab this and drop them down in your hotbar. So that is being investigated. But yeah, so like I got a bunch in here. Sorry, it's really awkward.
Trying to show what's on camera at the same time.
And get all this stuff out of the way,
Yeah.
so that you can see, like, it's funny because I didn't do this on purpose, but I picked all the most giant pets that I could find, so that they were gigantic, And then I got this one, which is not very giant.
There you go.
We also got the walrus familiar here that's part of the collector's edition. I think that's actually the premium one. So, and then we were going to show off the weapon auras, which is my favorite thing. So basically, we just have to have a cool weapon. I grabbed some nostalgic stuff here. Where did my carotid cutter go? There it is. All right. So you have to make sure your weapon's attuned, obviously, and then ignore all this stuff that you'll never see. And basically, these are drops that you can find throughout the world. These will be available on a global drop system for an Ashti Soul, and they will be available for the TLE. So you will be able to find these drops in the current content that you're playing. And then what you do is you just say, you jump in the air, add aura, and then you have this really cool interface that you can take your cool drops that you've gotten from treasure. And so I got the carotid cutter in here, and I added this really cool, I love the color. It's really cool effect. And then you got your weapon auras, and you can put, there's all, there's fire, there's ice, there's nature, there's shadow, there's blood.
It's red wine.
This is, yes, the red wine effect.
Strawberry jam.
But this is like, and they come in different levels. So like this is obviously the most fancy of the acid ones. Let me show you like doing a cool crossbow, and you can maneuver in here and get your cool crossbow up, and then see what the effect's gonna look like. It's pretty cool. Let's see what else we got. Runes. Ooh, that's cool. Except it's only going on one side, or is that because oh, there it goes. And then you just apply that, and then obviously you
Equip
can,
it.
except it doesn't want to equip because I already have one equipped. There it is. Oh my god, I don't have a range thing up. And then someone encouraged me to do a scythe, and I put the
Ooh,
acid on the
Yeah,
side.
that's awesome.
that's rad.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's Patamorph keyring and weapon auras.
I think the Petamorph keyring is really cool in the way that it can help us manage your inventory, and
Yeah, keep them all organized.
and it
one
lets
place.
you
Keep some of the clutter down too.
Oh, absolutely. But I think it gives you a
Mhm.
reason to then collect
Yeah.
them.
Instead of opting not to get it because you don't want the clutter. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You don't feel so bad now accepting this because you do want it, but you're like, oh, am I really going to use this? How many times? Because my inventory space is limited.
Mhm.
It just.
Similar to the wardrobe.
Absolutely.
You don't want to carry those pieces of armor
But you
all
don't want-
around with you, but you want to use the look and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and you don't want to let them go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really cool thing that Code was able to support us with.
Yeah, and we do have plans for other key rings
Mhm.
in the future to make more available space in your inventory.
Yeah. Without having to just be a straight up another inventory slot.
Right.
That is very detrimental for continuing for players. Like just every single one, it just magnifies
Performance.
the performance.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
But bigger bags, just do bigger bags.
Oh, I know. It's so enticing.
Dan is crying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that works really well.
Yeah, I didn't pick all the largest creatures purposely. It's just kind of happened. But this one is very Velious, the dragon bone golems. Alrighty, so that's those.
Nice. Well, should we talk about the lore a little bit?
I think we should.
So we've kind of danced around it. You've seen now some of the different zones, and you know the real question is, okay, how is this connected to each other? Why are there two separate continents? What's doing it? And this started back with the first GU of this year. You really saw this conflict come about. Well, you saw all sorts of different skirmishes that were kind of like bubbling up, you know, and all of a sudden, like, these different peoples that had always been kind of contentious with one another, all of a sudden, like, something really flared up about their battles with each other, and they took it to the next level. And so that was Dark Paw Rising, was like the first really showy instance of that. And it was revealed through there that there was someone behind it that was actually inciting this. And then we come to our prelude event, and that's when other people start cluing in, like, yeah, there's someone behind all of this. Is a coordinated thing. This isn't just for the praise of the god of war, or gods of war, you know, hounds of war, but this is actually, like, someone is intentional behind this. They started getting those suspicions, and threw in a couple characters, you know, some lively people to meet along the way. And then here comes the expansion, and the expansion is that same group of people, which were a ragtag group of healers and followers of Quellius. All of a sudden, they've been doing further investigations, and they've got agents out there giving them some information. And so they've found enough information to say, we've got to head off the intention behind all this. All of this stuff that's been happening is a distraction. It's all been against Kinos or Kinos' allies. And so there's someone behind it, but we think we don't know who that is, but we do know that their next play is to get a dragon's soul. And why do they want it? And what are they trying to get with it? Well, we've got some ideas, we have some theories. And then but we're going to get there first. We're going to cut them off. We're going to get that dragon soul first. And the one that we know of that's on Norath is Lord Terranax's soul. And he was last held by the Blackhook orcs. And so this is going back to the launch of the game, where you were manipulated by some Blackhook orcs to going and getting his soul. And so this is pulling onto that thread from so long ago. You have to find them. They're in this Soden archipelago. That is their new hideout. And so that's what's really pushing you there, your investigations, but you're really thinking you're going to cut them off. You're going to get this thing before other people do. And you get there, and lo and behold, there's a twist. And so maybe, you know, as you're doing that, you then find, you know, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, but you do end up realizing you can't get it back. Like, this is a dead end. And it's at that point that there's other information still coming from this group. They're called the Open Hand. And they are the ones then that provide you, like, oh, there's been some developments while you've been here. And so they then clue you in as far as who it is that's behind this. And it's been revealed that it is Lucan Delir. It is the overlord there in
the guy behind
Freeport.
you.
Yeah, big guy. So, but he's sending his forces. And so how can we beat his forces then? What is it? They needed a dragon soul to get into Western Wastes, because Western Wastes was protected by and locked off by dragon magic. And so what is it that, how do they think that they're going to get in? Well, dragon soul was how they were planning on getting in there. So now that they have something, they're getting in there. How are you going to get in there? You don't have a dragon soul. So we get to then visit Osh again. So we go back to the Othmere village, and we get to convince him that we should be able to take oh my gosh, I just forgot the turtle's name.
Lotazol.
Lotazol, thank you. Yeah. So then you get to take Lotazol, and but it's just like pulling on some of those more nostalgic threads of things in the past, revisiting people, and Elna Tessaran, which is a Ixar that you had met back in Order of Rhyme. She comes along, and so more of those characters that I think that you should remember. And maybe you don't, and then you go back and you're doing a playthrough later of those other areas and go, hey, I know that person later. But you get to Western Wastes, and now it's okay, can we catch up with, or did we get here before they did? And you're trying to find the Freeport crew, and where are they, and trying to defeat them. Now, those of you who are villainous players, you are part of Neriac, or you're part of Freeport, and you're thinking, well, why? Why would I be doing this? That was a very good point that was brought up in beta, and although it was covered, it was not given enough of a justification. And so I rewrote some dialogue and revealed a little bit more, pulled the curtain back a little bit, using some seers from Luckland. So we go ahead, and you've got a little bit more reason now as far as why you should also help stop Lucan. But you get there, and then now your challenge is, how do we get into Dragon Necropolis? And where is it? What has happened? Remember that this area was completely destroyed. Okay, it's all new, it's reformed, it's healing, or it's changing. But what is that along the way? And so you're meeting the population that's been kind of eking in, and you find that the barriers haven't really been maintained since the fall of the Awakened. So it has been weakening, but also now here it is. You really weakened it when you came through, when Lucan came through. And so then you're going down into Dragon Necropolis and chasing after and trying to get this thing that he's probably going after, and you aren't really sure what it is that he's going for, but you need to try and head him off to that instead of letting him have it, and then the doom that will come. Doom. Yes. So, and then there's the exalted dragons that you find down there. These are just the remains, the undead. You're finding the spirits, and then of course you start fighting the Lucanic Knights down there and his forces, until you actually have to face the Overlord himself.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So what's the transition? We're gonna start showing off some dungeons. Is
How
that
did
what
I
you're
end up
gonna
back
show
here?
us? How did you end up back here? Alright, so yeah, so we're gonna show off some dungeon stuff. I was actually just discussing this and didn't realize that I was muted. One thing I do want to say is that we did more dungeons for this expansion than we've done for an expansion, I think, ever. So as far as heroic content, there's 12 heroic dungeons in both versions of Heroic 1, which is the more entry level and stuff, and then the Heroic 2, which is the more challenging stuff. There might even be some surprises above that. But we also have 12 solo dungeons. Every dungeon that we did has been made into a solo dungeon, solo experience. So it's a lot of dungeons, I just want to say.
Yeah, we've also got 12 raids as well, so quite a few raids compared to past expansions.
12 raid
12.
zones.
And we did away with the event heroic style dungeons where there's just 3 bosses.
Right.
But
These are all
we
full.
didn't reduce the number of dungeons. We just replaced those with 5 boss dungeons, full dungeons.
Right.
So you're not losing anything by not having the event heroics. Still zoning.
Oh, they're still zoning. We're on the daily server, which is internal, and if there's nobody in those zones, they take a little bit to spin up.
So I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Nathan was just discussing with the lore and spoil but not spoil it, I guess. Do my best to not reveal too much.
Spoilers.
Maybe just show some of the encounters, some of the population that we put in.
Also, these really cool
And the animation
these
sets.
really cool zoning screens that also were done by Nobrin. He tries to do new screens for us every single expansion. So where are you?
Oh, I am in Corrupted Caldera right there. I have discovered it.
Good job.
Just gonna walk a bit through the zone and just kind of. Oh, Tim, your reverse mouse movements are killing
Fix
me.
it. It's gonna drive you nuts.
Tim thinks he's a pilot when he's on here. But I'm just going to show you a bit of what I worked with Tom on a lot of the animation sets on here. I can't understand what she's saying because she's speaking. Was it Yukishan? She's a troll. Too bad you can't hear some of this. But or bridges dropping because they don't want you to pass through. Now this is the bottom of Blackhook. You've kind of worked your way down past all the jungle, the fort, the cliff sides that are kind of adjacent to Soden archipelago. You've worked your way down to the very bottom, and I'm going to go to.
I feel like I'm landing a plane.
Yeah, you hear that too. So this is a bit of what Nick and I had worked on together. Well, mostly Nick. He did all of the spire system here. That's kind of a very, very void architecture. You can see how this is what Lord Terranax has been working on over the years here with his Blackhook orcs, building this whole system to try to reconnect to the void.
Don't fall.
Wasn't me.
I'm going to just run a little command here to show you what it looks like when it's all moving.
I was excited about the void stuff because it's like we've always been kind of shy on showing void stuff, because when we did that expansion we kind of did a bit too much void, and players were basically like, never show us the void again. and we have listened to them up until now, but to be honest, there's a lot of really cool stuff in
There's
that
a
in that
lot of
expansion.
stories that are untold there as well,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
are cool to explore, but we also don't want to
Inun-
push just void.
inundate you with purple.
We added some blue this time. Come on.
So basically, if this happens, it's bad news. You're dead. You don't want that to happen because the void connection has been complete and Terranax wins.
Oh, just fix the mouse. You're driving me nuts.
You're driving me nuts.
Okay, now I'm going to spawn a boss here that I'm going to spoil a bit here.
It's good stuff. Show it off.
This is exciting podcasting right here.
Pod-
Or podcast.
podcasting.
Or streaming, sorry.
I wish it was a podcast.
The sound of
No,
my...
they wouldn't get to see anything.
You're-
This is the
so,
beautiful
So
stuff.
what we're showing you right now is a dragon.
Just imagine.
Just imagine it in your head. While we-
You've seen dragons before. Come
So,
on.
yeah. So here's Lord Terranax in orc form, basically. And here's the bottom of the Blackhook spiral, kind of the closest you can get to the void without getting into the void. And you notice there's none of the void particles that you would find in most void zones or void adjacent zones, really, because the connection's not there yet. That kind of signifies there's that connection to the void when you see all the crazy magics coming out of the void. None of that is here.
Yet.
Not yet, yeah. And this guy's really cool. He is a Blackhook orc that's been possessed by Lord Terranax, and you can kind of see if you recognize the original Lord Terranax, the skeleton version that you fought, the horns formation is the same as the orc here, so it kind of took on the same
Characteristics.
characteristics of the dragon. He's got really cool animations where he just hawking loogies. I didn't ask for those. That was just Austin going crazy with the animations.
They have a lot of great animations.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try not to die and show some stuff.
Good luck.
Just some animation sets that so it's the whole new dual wield animation set, and he'll do some stuff, blowing fire.
like a dragon would.
I died.
Almost got him. I think he was at 98.
Anyways, that's that. That's a bit of Lord Terranax. Again, I don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, there's a lot more that you put into that fight that is so dramatic, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it really pays off.
I forgot to show the goblins.
Goblins.
Yeah.
Some of the goblin stuff is hilarious.
Yeah, I had more. I was joking with, pretty much everybody saying that I had more fun. I had more fun doing the goblin orc interactions than I did with the bosses because it's just so hilarious. Kind of just go nuts with the population with the goblins. See if I can go to them. Again, I know this is exciting.
But you're
Okay.
discovering new areas.
I can just turn without.
Inverting mouse.
You're getting pretty good with it.
I'm learning.
You gonna convert finally?
Here we go. Oh, we have an orc that just died because a rock fell on him. But yeah, this is more animations that Tom Toby put together, and we just kind of show, what the population would be doing in a place like this. They're mining. They're using the orcs the goblins as slaves, just to, mine all the cabarite here to build this spire system for Terranax, so we
It's like
can
one
make
of them
that connection.
One of them dropped the rock.
Yeah. That was a funny story that Denmum was. I showed this to the team, and Denmum's like, I think a rock should fall on one of them, and bad thing happened. So I brought it up to Tom, and he's like, okay, we'll make that happen. And there you go. You got a flattened goblin. But yeah, just having fun with the population. That's what I like to do, other than killing players with bosses. Okay, we'll go to a different zone and not spoil some more.
Teasy spoil.
Now with Dragon Necropolis, you'll start in Shatari Warrens as you progress, and there's not a whole lot of dragon presence in there because it's mostly the Warrens, but you do get into that main dungeon area that Tim showed earlier, and you do get to possess some skeletal dragons to fight a dragon boss in there. That was a whole fun ordeal. It was fun. It turned out great. I think at the beginning of beta, players will know it was not the most fun thing. Possessing a possession system is kind of
It's difficult.
It's difficult to get working, but I think now it's in a good place. So yeah, you'll fight a dragon in there, and then as you progress, you'll notice that the Lucanic army or the Lucanic knights, they were present there, but they've moved on. But not all of them made it out alive. I mean, they're all undead, right? They're all liches, but
Well,
they
not
made it out.
liches, but yes.
Yeah. So you'll see some of the some of the Chitauri eating on some of the dead bodies or carrying them around their shoulders to deliver them to other Chitauri. And then as you progress from there, you get into another section of the crypt system, and you'll see even more Lucanic knights either dead, or you might see them in cages. They've been captured by dragonkind. And then when you finally get to the final zone, in that set, you'll see that they actually have a presence, and they're almost like they're waiting for you. Like they've set up to stop you from interfering with the plans. So you'll come across them here initially, and then as you work your way through the dungeon, this is Darkfold Crypt here. This is where the shadowy dark magic dragons would be buried here. And then as you work your way through the zone, you would get to I should reveal this boss here for you all.
That was cool.
So this would be a reveal as you progress through the zone. Is you've got the army of Lucanic knights and spell splitters, which is something that Nathan had created for prior content that's nice to bring back here, because I didn't want to just have Lucanic knights. They would have brought other forces. The Lucanic knights are your melee types, and you've got your spellcasters to back them up. But here you've got a mechanical dragon. I don't know what that is exactly, who that could be. But it is a clockwork dragon that Nobrin created, and looks amazing, as you can see. Exciting.
And there's
Pretty
some
awesome.
old story behind some of
Yes.
this stuff too, if you
Yes,
pay
but-
attention.
Especially if you were a mage and did the Epic 2.0.
Yeah, I just love the detail too with the draconic.
As well as some of the racial stuff in Freeport as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where the spell splitters.
But is it a mount?
No, she wouldn't allow you to ride on her.
And as you progress through the zone, after you've done whatever you need to do to progress, I won't give it away.
Wink, wink.
You've come into this giant crypt. It's called Cold Talon Crypt, all frozen and icy.
And each of the
Like,
areas
can
within
you-
the crypt too are kind of themed based on the dragons that are held
Right.
there. So like
Right.
this is the cold area. You saw the dark and black area,
Shadowy area.
area and before this, and there's more areas, and they're all themed on the different types of dragons that would have been,
Interred there.
Yeah.
I'm going to trigger this event and not give anything away as far as the dialogue goes. So took out the UI. Things happen. I'm going to kill these guys.
And die.
That seems so
Hopefully not.
easy.
Hopefully not.
And yes, new model of Luke.
Yep, new model of dragon there. New design that Nobrin worked on as well. All new animation sets from Tom that set that all up. And I don't know if you want to reveal any of this, Nathan,
Too late.
or
This is
I'm not giving the name or anything. You cannot see. It's just all visual.
that's okay. I'll say Olvax Zoviak.
Bless you.
And he is someone that EQ and EQ2 lore, you've heard his name maybe once. You've seen it in discussion of the plane of disease and Burtox and how he came about is where you'll see this guy's name. He is that old and been around the block. This guy knows a lot. He is dangerous. And there's a good reason why he was in the center in this room. Oh no, did we crash? But yeah, so he and the other dragon have a connection, and they are working in a surprising way. So even though, you know, we've told you, hey, you've got Lucan you are fighting against, there are other twists and turns to this. We haven't spoiled everything yet.
You spoiled how to pronounce the name.
Olvex Zoviak.
They probably heard it before, but not pronounced correctly.
It took me a while. I was just saying Olvi there. for a while.
Olvax Zoviak, is that it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Lord U, as I affectionately
Chris.
call him.
We showing the antagonist over there? You want to close up on him, or is that
Who did?
no way up close?
Oh.
'Cause he looks awesome.
Oh, like
Oh
his
yeah,
face
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
stuff,
Yeah, it's all. This is all
He looks
new.
awesome.
Considering he's the one meddling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, Dave Brown put this guy together.
Turned out
Looks
great.
awesome. Yep. With the cape and everything.
I was excited to find out Lucan was meddling again.
We all were.
Well, and the thing is that he has been machinations, right, are one of his things, and they have been going on in the background for so long. You had all sorts of the Dwarven and the Ratongas working on some secret project in their area. You had conflicts going on with the mages and the warriors in Freeport, and this has always been kind of a, I want to say background, but you know, like that was during the Freeport revamp when we really brought those stories to the fore, and then they've had just little tricklings and little influences here and there along the way. So, and of course, Age of
Discovery?
no, I was thinking the actual war,
Ages End.
Ages
Oh,
End.
Ages End.
Of course, Lucan and his having to come to terms with, I need to cooperate with other people reluctantly, and getting him and seeing though that even in that, he was doing it for selfish reasons. You know, he wanted to save his own skin. So he's been a part of this lore, but what was he doing? What is his end game? And we still haven't revealed that. But what you're seeing is that now some of the bigger pieces are falling into place.
Wheels are now in motion.
Absolutely. And he did, you know, he was distracting you for quite some time here as he was nearing this.
Cool.
Well, that's as much as I want to reveal without revealing as much as I would like to reveal. That doesn't make any sense. I just don't want to spoil anymore.
Yeah,
So
No, that's great.
the plan is to show him a raid zone, right? Is that the plan?
I can.
Okay.
We can show him the first raid zone.
Want to take over?
Sure. Turn
with,
around.
with Tim's mouse
Oh, great.
on the wrong side.
This is gonna be terrible. No. Here, just switch. Now
One
I
thing,
have to deal with.
I will say about the quests that we very purposely designed this year was that you are not starting them in another location. So, like, even though in Kinos or in Freeport is where you're kind of nudged towards going to Soden Archipelago, you don't start the quest there. So if you get like a clicky to put in your house to start the expansion, you can do that. You don't even have to, there is an in-game mail as well, but you don't even have to read that. If you know where to go, because all your alt characters will know where to go, you know, it's okay. You can just go right to the Soden Archipelago. The story picks up right there. You start getting the signature lines, the side quests, and the trade skill line. And the trade skill line this year, it goes very hand in hand with the adventure signature line, and you will feel so much more pleased about doing the trade skill line. You'll feel more rewarded in doing that. A lot more time has been put into it this year, and we feel good about the cooperation between the signature line, the adventure signature line, and the trade skill signature line. Definitely is worth your time doing them.
Still zoning.
Oh, that's one of the it's one of the new dragon skeletal dragon models that
Yeah, the
Over
Exalted.
worked. Yeah, the exalted ones. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked great.
Yeah,
So raids this year. I mean, what can I give away about raids this year? The first raid zone is probably the biggest. I put a lot of time into that first raid zone because I feel like the people are going to spend the most time in that zone than they are in the other zones. So there's a lot of stuff put in there that you can optionally do, or you can do a special quest and unlock more bosses, or you can find a hidden boss. Or there's 9 bosses total in the first zone, and you don't have to do all of them to complete the zone. I mean, you could just do 4 in one side or 4 in the other, or you could go after all of them and try to unlock the bonus boss. Whatever you want to do that day. It's meant to be able to be played in multiple ways. That being said, oh great, inverted mouse.
Will you change it?
No. Oh god, everything's inverted.
Just change it.
All right, so
It's like
some of you might
siblings
recognize
three.
some of the dirigibles and stuff like that. They
change
are
it.
involved.
Just change it.
This is
Where
what
do you
sa-
change it?
This is what it sounds like
You
in
hit F.
meetings.
Yeah, it's under controls. And literally the top or second one. Oh, look at that right there.
Inverse mouse.
Ah, you're breaking my heart.
Look, I can actually look now.
Nobody knows that because nobody uses it.
Yeah. That's why we don't know how to turn it off.
But I'm somebody.
It's only in there for
Anyway.
only in there for Tim.
Anyway,
Yeah, it was a
the,
personal request.
the story this year is kind of based around the McGillicuddies. You remember them from Echo Caverns. They are kind of branching out and trying to help with the adventurers coming to the new lands, and they want to help in terms of delivering things and helping players get to certain places once they've figured out how to do it, which they haven't yet. So they're kind of needing a little bit of help get established. Once they're established, they're going to go to other areas. They're going to help you go there. They're going to investigate some things with the Coldane. There's a couple different storylines that end up happening, and they all kind of converge into Dragon Necropolis, which will come out later. But this first raid zone is made kind of like a theme park, I guess you could say. It's got a bunch of different a bunch of different bosses to go after. There's a lot of, there's not a lot of base pop, but there's a good bit of base pop that you can go around, but you don't have to kill most of it. There's bosses kind of hidden in every little nook and cranny around here. There's things that happen that are like little traps, like these little mushrooms are involved, and you have to find all of them. I mean, there's all sorts of little things that go on here, but
Are there secrets to spawning bosses?
there are for like the bonus boss. There's
Okay.
there's a special way you have to spawn him.
There's
But
something about monkeys you said.
oh, the monkeys were that's one. So the zone is built like 2 different zones. There's 4 bosses in one direction in a chain, and then there's 4 bosses in another direction in a chain. And at the end of one of those chains is the Mandoko chieftain, and he's got some interesting mechanics that he does to try to keep you from discovering exactly what he's doing. But yeah, there's 2 different quest lines. There's all sorts of hidden stuff in this zone just to begin with. So I mean, going through and finding spots for bosses was an adventure of itself, I think. There was a couple places that made sense, like the one object that was made with the lines. I forget what it was called. Nathan?
Cairn stones?
The stone.
That's what we
Is
call
it
it.
Cairn? Okay.
The stone.
No,
yeah.
no.
Oh, the
I don't remember
stone.
the name.
It's not Karen, but
But yeah.
you mean the turtle shell looking?
Yes. The Kappa.
Yes.
The Kappa stone. I don't even know how to get there from here. But yeah, I mean,
This is what Kyle was having problems with, right? Trying to find that.
it's hard. I mean, this zone is actually fairly.
Yeah, it's good.
It's-
It's nice that you can get lost.
Yeah, it's like
you
a
know.
real swamp. I
Right.
mean, it's got all sorts of different areas, and the fact that there's layered areas too. There's other islands. There's the Blackhook Orc area. There's the Anthill area over here with all the desert, and I mean there's all sorts of different areas. But I tried to use most of the zone as possible. I didn't use the outer islands for this zone, but there is a raid later in the progression where you do come back and have to do some stuff there for another raid. So I tried to use as much of the real estate as possible for as many of the raids without making the raids gigantic.
Right.
This is really the only big raid. The rest of the zones are between 1 and 4 or 5 bosses. And that's done intentionally, especially toward the later end of progression, because those fights tend to get more complicated and need a little bit more in the terms of performance. So we didn't want to put those real big, heavily scripted fights into a large zone with lots of bosses and stuff like that, because performance is a big deal,
Right.
and we don't want bad performance during the raids. But yeah, the more will get revealed. This is probably the only zone I can really show right now, just because there's a bunch of stuff not hidden in some of the other zones that we were doing for testing and stuff. So yeah, some of the folks that were on beta testing for me got to see some of those other zones and test out some of those cool mechanics and stuff. But yeah, they're coming down the pipe, and the first zone will be opened in January, and the rest will roll out shortly after that. So yeah, that's raids.
Cool.
I should also mention that there are going to be some challenge heroics, very select few. So if you get to the end of the heroic 2 content and you want more challenge, but before the raids have been released, there are some special bosses that have been selected for some challenging content. So
And those are challenge mode, or they can choose, or?
they can choose, yeah. It'll be in the same heroic 2 zones, and you'll come across there'll be a statue near the boss that you can select from that whether to fight the challenge mode or the normal, or convert it back to the normal mode if the challenge was too difficult for whatever reason. So yeah, it'll be tied to mission, so there'll be a weekly mission involved in that, and to kill X number of challenge bosses, and then you get the loot from the missions. So yeah, just some extra content for those that are wanting to go past, heroic 2s before the raids.
Cool.
We got some questions actually.
All right, so yeah, it looks like we're going to answer some questions. Is that what we're doing?
So first one we got here, I'll just read it out loud. Is there a lore reason for why the area that used to be the Temple of Vishon is suddenly covered in growth and foliage?
Yeah, I touched on that at the beginning there, talking about the fact of the magical regrowth and the destruction that was caused by the war with the Awakened. So the magic that that was required to take that up at the temple and travel off with it, as Carafrim did, is left behind this warming effect, but also then the growth triggered by the pillars within the zone have had a unintended effect of this growth. I know a lot of people were connecting the dots with things that have just recently happened with another very, very well-known dragon, and whether that turns out to be something down the line, who knows? But
You do.
that is not what you are being shown right now.
Cool. We got
Alright.
another one. Just repeat the question.
Okay.
So viewers can hear it. With the success of the Origin server and the progression servers, have there been any consideration to lean retail back in that direction in terms of playstyle, pacing, and adventure?
You want me to repeat that?
You can summarize it.
So with the appearance of Anashti Sul, and I don't even understand the question.
Let's see. I can read it again. Let's see. In progression servers, have there been any consideration to lean live back in the direction in terms of play style, pacing, and adventure.
Okay, so the question is, with the appearance of a Nasty Soul, are there any plans to take the live experience back to where it's more similar to that play style, and also I want to say probably less complicated, because for some people, the live experience is a lot more complicated, as far as not complicated as far as skill or being able to play the game, but complicated as far as there's a lot of bells and whistles and a lot of features and stuff like that. Whereas, and it can be overwhelming. And the answer is a difficult one, but yes, we've kind of made it a goal to change things, homogenize things, pull things out every year, to make the game, a bit easier to start and a bit easier to participate in at that level. So I mean, it's a very conscious thing that we have been thinking about, and the short answer is yes, but it's complicated.
I mean, we kind of did that with the intro quest coming into last expansion's opening Overland with the
Quartermaster.
The Quartermaster, and then
which makes an appearance in this expansion also.
Right.
It's a quest and a NPC designed to get you all set up so that you don't have any issues heading into the expansion, and you can do the content without having to worry about it.
Right.
It's a nice catch-up mechanic.
Make sure you didn't miss anything. That way, you don't go into a zone, thinking that you're ready to go up against the new stuff, and you happen to miss something. So
Right.
it makes sure that everybody's kind of
So
on
that
an even
yeah,
page.
I mean, so that's kind of the first step, is we've kind of set up it's basically a mini tutorial to help you get ready. So you can if you're a player that hasn't played in a long time, you can buy the new expansion, you can log in, you can level up with a bauble, and then you can talk to a quartermaster, and he basically sets you up so that you're all ready to go, and you can head into the experience. So that's kind of, I realize that's not answering the question they're asking. I think they're asking more about us trying to lean backwards and make the game, easier and a lot less complicated. Not easier skill-wise.
Yeah.
Easier to comprehend.
We've got another one here. There's a thread on the forums that wants to know what the lore reason why we cannot initially fly in Soden archipelago is.
Oh, yeah.
Just chalk it up to altering magics? Question mark.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So they're asking about the flight in Soden archipelago, and why can't you right away? Yes, absolutely. They are correct. They have inferred exactly what it is that we wanted you to understand without us being explicitly told. It's the magic. It's the Alteran magics that are doing this. You can't fly there yet.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that is something that we've done consciously. Is when you come into new expansions, we realize, and I still say to this day, it's something I wish we never did, but we put in flight, and you want to be able to fly, but we build these huge, beautiful scrolling zones, and we want you to adventure in them. We want you to see everything that we've taken all the time and effort to put in. So at first, you're kind of forced to be on the ground. It's purpose. We want you to see the zones. We want you to see the art. We want you to see all the cool little stuff that we put in, and then eventually you earn the ability to fly around, and then you can travel quickly.
All right, we got one more question. Can you explain how Jalib Dar went from Fens to Necropolis?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, how did Jaladar go from Fens to Necropolis? He was like that in EQ. He was already a spirit in one place and a shade in another.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the exact places where you find him now. So although maybe you were not aware that that was happening in EQ's lore, that is exactly what we're doing, is where he was there in Necropolis previously. And your spirit can be shattered. It can be in two different places. One can be an echo of you. One can be your actual embodiment soul, per se. And that is what we're showing here, is that there is a part of him that is absolutely linked with his burial point, but there's also a spot of him that is part of this echo that is going to be, that is like I'm almost scarred upon the land
Like
where he
imprinted.
died.
Like imprinted.
Imprinted, yeah. So that's why he could, yes, it looks like, oh, he's in two different places at once. Well, you know, in the spiritual world, we're talking metaphysics here.
Norath is a magical place.
Yes.
But yeah, we totally knew that was not something that had to be explained away later. Like, it was a very purposeful thing.
And that's something that we discussed early on when we were first having the meetings talking about the lore. We were trying to, it's like, wait a minute, isn't he already here? Oh, wait,
Yes.
that makes sense anyway.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Well, that same. Maybe I was the one that posted that question because
you felt just as confused.
because when that was kind of the process.
I think that's
Yeah.
exciting to me.
Right.
Of those kind of like connections and like, was this on purpose? Is this a mistake that now you're finding a lore reason for?
Well,
You
often,
know, like
and then oftentimes, we'll come up with a boss idea, and we're like, let's ask Nathan, is this okay to use this character in this setting? And once we get the approval, we go for it. So
Yeah.
and
And
that was one of them.
It's a fun back and forth too when we're talking about that. When it's like, how are you going to justify this?
Right.
But then also like when I then bat back with, ooh, what about this other character? Because they would naturally
Yeah.
fit into that
Yeah,
spot.
yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
And I think more so than I think in past expansions, I think we did a really good job of showing, or basically, backing up the signature quest line, the story with the dungeons. There's a lot of interaction between the bosses and the storyline, and the environments in the dungeons this time. I think more so now than in prior expansions. I think it really worked out well.
I really hope that that's the case. I want players to be able to naturally see what the story is.
Right.
It's that show, don't tell,
Mhm.
right? Yes, there's going to be a lot of tell. There's you can't avoid it.
Right.
There's a lot of dialogue, or quest journals to read. But other than that, like, does the story make sense if I was to just kind of bulldoze my way through
Right.
as a berserker? Is that going to actually still? Am I still going to get the sense of the story
Right.
that way? And I'm really proud of this one. I think that it does carry really well. You guys
Yeah.
did an excellent job.
All right, cool. So I guess we're gonna wrap things up. Everybody's probably going, thank God. So Scars of Destruction will be launching on November 20th. You can pre-order it now. I'm not sure.
And beta tested still?
Yeah,
Until-
the beta is still open for another right up until the day.
Right until
The
the
day
day.
before
Yeah,
launch.
yeah.
We typically don't take beta down until the day before, so if you want to get in there, just to see it, you can do that.
Or earn some of the beta rewards still.
Right, there's beta rewards. We put in a lot of beta rewards this year because we really felt like we needed to get things tested and encourage people to check it out. So there's also going to be some cool Scars of Destruction stuff available on the Swag website. So let's see, what do we got? We
They're
got
really cool too.
we got a beanie, which is not really my style because I don't think you want to even imagine this on my head.
Actually, I kind of do now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that was kind of the point. But for the big thing is the really awesome Scars of Destruction key art. We have the
Giant mouse pad.
big cool mouse pad with Lucan and his awesome sword. Can we see that?
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing that's floating behind us, but they did some cool stuff with the colors, and it's a bit more vibrant. It's one of the things I really love about these mouse pads, and I will say I own them all because I'm a huge fan of key art and that stuff. But I really like that. And then we have the smaller version
They
here.
make great cat beds too.
Cat bed. Oh, there you go, cat beds.
Only because your cats won't get off your desk.
But the colors are they came out so vibrant and awesome on these things.
I'm tiling my floor with them.
Yeah, and then there's a poster. If you like posters, I love posters. with the EverQuest 2 symbol up in the corner. Pretty awesome. Super excited about this stuff. The quality of this stuff is amazing. I use these. I rotate them out underneath my keyboard and my mouse pad, and they're very durable and they're very useful. So
really
very
good quality.
awesome. But that's it. That's our Scars of Destruction live cast. Thanks everyone who like hung out and watched. We're super excited for you to see this expansion. I mean, we're always excited about our expansions, but this one's kind of like extra cool for us. So,
Yeah.
and we hope you really love it because we think you will.
Cool because it's Velios, or
Exactly, ice. Yeah, there's a lot less ice than I wanted. I'm just gonna say, but we got lots of ice here. So, yeah, cool. So, all right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
you all.
you.